Right, so here we again. We were discussing what this function will return. So you said,
I said user last name, but it's
see, no problem.
user dot last name, and if he doesn't see a last name there,
Yep.
Why doesn't return first name and then last name in one?
well, because does the last name property exist anymore as part of the user object? Does it exist or not? No.
Either user one.
It should be user.name.last name.
So Sultan said, and apparently Norbert agrees, that this would be user.name.firstname.
Like that.
Does anyone
Yeah, like
has any concern about that?
Yeah, because
name.
you've got user, but why have you just got user, not user one?
Why
Oh,
user?
yeah, it should be user. Oh no, that's all right. That's inside function the user.
Why user and not user one? Can anyone explain at this stage of the journey why this is user and not user one?
Does it have a little bit more of a... You can use it
We just went through that.
a lot more instead of
Yeah.
just directly keeping it to
Correct.
that.
Correct. We can pass here user 1, user 2, user 3, user 11. But in reality, the function doesn't care, right? The function does just want to do a welcome message. Doesn't care which user it is. That's why it's just for semantics. It's good to keep that as much generic as possible. But again, the question is, do you understand that? User.name.firstname. Right? So this is the way we drill down. We navigate through objects with a dot, right? So that's the user. Then the name. That's the name. Then the first name. That's the first name. So
That should be hello world John.
that should be hello world John. Yes. Correct. Right? That's pretty much it about objects. It's not that complicated, right? Obviously, I could make it even more complicated, but for now, that's it. Does anyone have any question about objects? No? Cool. So let's talk about arrays. So what an array is. So an array is a similar...
Sorry, the only question is that can you access the properties of an object with another notation other than dot notation? The
Yes.
bracket notation?
Yes.
Can you do it just to show?
I don't want to do it now.
Okay,
but,
fine. Okay, I just
so
wanted
just for Sultan. So there is another way to access object properties, which is
What's the
Oh, with brackets. Yeah.
with brackets. Correct. You're correct, Chris. That's true. So with brackets, we can pass a string here with the name of the property we want to access. So which property are we looking for now?
Name,
Name. Correct. And what else?
first name.
How do we do that?
another bracket,
Another bracket.
Yeah.
another string?
That's it.
It's the same.
And what's the best practice?
So
If it's two words, I understand, two separate words, you have to use bracket notation. That's
two
right,
words.
right? So if you had, if it's two words, then it would have to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
bracket notation.
that's I didn't want to talk about that, but that's definitely a good point. Imagine that because of whatever dodgy reason, your expert developer has done something like that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you'd have to. You can't get that with dot.
That's crap. I mean, that's valid. Technically speaking, that's correct. So the properties may have spaces. But to have spaces, they need to be declared as a string. So for that particular case, we definitely need to do something like that. It works. But to me, this is just, it's not nice. It's just the consequence of something not knowing what he's doing. Because there is no single reason in the world to do that. Right? So that will be a reason. I can give you another reason. Imagine, okay, I think that opens an interesting discussion. That we want to pass a second argument to the welcome function. Because sometimes we want to say hello to the first name, but sometimes we want to say hello to the last name. In other words, let me go back to the dot notation. So we got that, right? User.name.firstName. And that should work.
It's because you've got to change username.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you. So that's name. Here you go, right? Right. It works. But now we want to display the last name. We know how to do it, right? We just need to change the first name with last name. Still works. Fine. But imagine that we want to make it dynamic. Sometimes we want to say hello John, and sometimes we want to say hello Luis. Right. How can we do it?
Do like an if or an else?
If else. I'll give you
No, just put bracket notation instead of last name.
Yep. Bracket notation instead of last
And
name.
introduce random.
Random.
variable.
No, but I don't want to be random, so I'll change the approach.
But what about common double quotes?
Double quotes.
But that's it. You said sometimes you want this, sometimes you want that.
Yes, exactly. But I will know when do I want one and
Okay.
when do I know the other. For instance, two users again, right? User 1 and user 2. So user 1 is that one, user 2 is whatever, right? We don't even care about the email. So for the first user, I want to display the first name. But for the second user, I want to display the last name.
That's why it's better to use bracket notation, because you can go into each one, so you can put brackets.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
you want it to go into the user 2,
Yep.
user 2, then bracket notation, first name.
Yep,
If you wanted to get the first one, you'd go user 1, bracket.
yep, 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 agree. So look at what I'm doing now. Yeah, I agree on that, Chris. So for the user 1, I'm going to pass a second argument with the first name. And for the user 2, it's going to be the last name. So then, can you tell me how can I change that function so the user 1 will display the first name and the user 2 will display the last name? So
We need to put another one next to user at the top.
exactly. So historically speaking, welcome just had one argument, but we could add as many arguments as we want, right? So that's the user, exactly. So we can add a comma, and that's the second name. Fair enough, name. Okay, right? So let's add a breakpoint and see what the value of name is. So the first time, what will be the value of the name property?
John, ready?
The first name is
Yeah.
John.
John, Luis.
No.
I want to inspect the value of that variable name.
Lewis.
Luis.
Oh, that's
So okay, let's do the poll again. So Dave says this Luis.
Name is first name and last name.
Name is, but the first time will be
It's John and Lewis.
the first time we call the
You
function.
have to put instead of last name, you have to put name again.
Name.
So that user.name.name. Because you have to call in the
So,
parameter
right,
from the function.
Wait.
place it there.
I don't care. I don't care about the line. I want to see
Okay.
the value of that argument here. Name. What's the value?
So you have to enter it there.
It's the first name, but last name changed.
Right. So Norbert said this string.
The first name or last name is as a string.
It's not going to work that way.
Okay. So any other thought about what the value of name will be?
There, it would be first name.
First name, but first name like a string?
First name like a string, like you wrote it.
Right.
Like you passed it in.
Exactly. Let's play it. Let's see what happened. Look. So Norbert was right. The second argument is just a string, right? It's just a string. I could type whatever I want, just a string. A bunch of random characters. This is the second argument. So then, here, it will receive the very same value. That's it. The second time, if I run again, what will be the value of the name argument? Last name. The string, last name with quotes.
Second time, yeah.
Right. So Dave is correct. Dave is right. Last name. Based on that, can anyone tell me how to now amend the line number 4 to display the name, whatever it is, either the first name or the last name?
Change last name into name.
We change last name into name.
That's my. Why not? Like you have a function, welcome function, with a user, which is in this case, when you call a function, you call user1, and then you say you want to access user1 first name, and then that's the second argument, and then return says hello world user, which is in this case user1, and then it looks for name, which is going to be either first name or last name, and then you have to specify whether it's the first name or the last name, which is in the function argument, the second argument in the function.
So, that's what Norbert is suggesting. Can you explain why to the crowd?
Because it's, now it's we as
Because it's a string.
So that goes back to the original question that Chris asked. So you can see that now name will be a variable, right? It could be either first name or last name. That's why this notation sometimes is useful, because it's the only way to point to different properties dynamically. So if we run this example, let's just run the first one. So that what should this display?
First name.
Hello world,
John.
John. Okay, let's try it. You're right. Let's go with the second one. What should this display?
James.
James. You are right again. Right? So again, you see how to access properties dynamically. And you also seen how to add multiple arguments to JavaScript functions. Any question?
And what would happen if we stay with dot name?
Okay.
Name?
Okay, you'll tell me. Okay. Cool.
You don't have to run, it's enough if you explain.
No, but the best way to explain probably is to show it, right? So let's start a breakpoint. Now we are calling user.name.name. Let's see what happened. We stop there. You know that at the bottom, in the console, we can keep typing. So we can play around with JavaScript. We have access to the variables. So I can type user. Here you go. It returns the user. See? Right. Let's type user.name. The two properties. But what happens if I type user.name.name?
Say that first name twice.
What?
First name twice.
First name twice.
No, I mean, in theory, it should go into.
Yeah, because you're not going into two different names. There's only one name description though.
One name is.
Yeah, but the other one is the argument. So that's
Eh?
the second name
Yeah.
is the argument you pass into the function after user.
The second name doesn't exist.
Yes. You're
Oh, I
right.
see. There are no.
The second name doesn't exist. In other words, world is will return.
Nothing.
Nothing. Why? First name.
Oh yeah,
It's here.
But then you will not be able to pass a variable.
No,
It will just return first name all the time.
what they say the consultant. So the first name returns the first name because it's
Yeah.
here. However, if I type something silly, what will this return?
Nothing.
Undefined. Because that property doesn't exist here. Following the same reasoning, if I type name again, it should return what?
Oh, I see.
What?
Undefined.
Mari? Why Mari? Why name returns Mari, but name random infinite number of strings returns undefined? So, what name means here? What is the name property here?
There's no name property. That's why it's undefined. I understand it now, but still. So this is the only kind of like the case where you have to use bracket notation.
Yep. You have to use bracket notation if you want to dynamically access one property or the other.
And it's not
Right.
because you are passing in strings. It's just because of the syntax. Anyway, I understand it now. Thank you.
So, what, Rush? Why this will return Mari? Why do you think this will return Mari? So the user is here. This is the user. Well, the second one, right? This one. That's user. Do we agree? Right. That's user.name. But
Name in the name.
yeah, exactly.
It's user.name, yeah, so the second name.
Yes. Exactly. Doesn't exist.
So you have to put first name there.
Exactly. You have to put first name. Yeah. That's it. Right? Any other question? Cool. So let's talk about arrays. That's the last part about JavaScript for today. So imagine that we have a list of usernames. So arrays are defined by square brackets. Remember that objects were defined by curly brackets. So arrays will be square brackets. So here we can just add a comma-separated list of properties. So Peter, Mary, and Lucy. Right? So if I ask you, how can we display? What do we need to do to display hello world Mari?
We return username, then the square brackets,
Here?
one.
Here, you mean, in the
You
function?
need to change that, yes.
Right, let's change that. Let's do it. So here, what should I type here?
Usernames.
Usernames?
Yeah.
Square brackets.
Square brackets.
Yeah. Yeah.
One.
Okay. Yes, but okay.
Yeah, that's not correct.
So the thing is, yes, in that specific case, it works because that function has access to that variable. But in real life, what I said before is functions are isolated. They don't have access to anything beyond these curly brackets. So in real life, this will never happen, or pretty much almost never happen. So assume that you don't have access to the usernames array.
Is it best practice though to put that variable in the function and make it a local function?
Well, it depends. So imagine that the list of usernames comes from the server side, because they are stored in a database or whatever. At some point, we need to invoke the function, the welcome function, passing the array or the specific property that we want to display. So I'll change that. Imagine that we want to pass usernames as an argument. So what do we need to change to display hello world Mari?
Again, that needs to be welcome usernames and then the bracket 1.
All right, all right, all right. Imagine that that's what we have here. Usernames 2. I don't want to rename usernames.
Just use it. The one.
Well,
Yeah, either change the welcome arguments to usernames, or just change
yep, the arguments.
arguments to usernames.
Yep. Will this make it? It works.
So what was that? What you've done?
So it's the same. I created nothing new, literally. So we define a variable, we pass that variable as an argument to the welcome function, and then the welcome function catches that argument and displays the second element of the array.
Basically, you have to imagine. Sorry, what's your name? David, right?
Yeah.
You have to imagine that. Don't even think about usernames too. Just imagine that you put the whole array into after welcome into the bracket, and that's what's going to happen.
Did everyone understood that?
Yeah.
Sort of. It'll make more sense once I've gone through the video again.
How do we display what do we need to do to display Peter instead of Mary?
0.
0. Why 0?
It's starts with 0.
Correct.
The first position in an array
Is
is
zero
0,
indexing.
1,
Exactly. Exactly. Because arrays start at index 0. Right? That's it about arrays. I'll make it last point here about JavaScript. I'll do a mix between arrays and objects. Here we got an array of what? What type of data are we hosting? Strings. Can we have an array of
Yeah.
Numbers. You can.
You can.
numbers? Yes.
You get an array of all of them.
Yes. Can we have an array of objects?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's change that. Let's have look at that. Eh? So now our array will have 2 objects. Object number 1 and object number 2. And then for each object we're going to have some properties on it.
This is where my eyes start. Yeah. That's what messes me up.
Yeah. Let's have 5 minutes break after that.
Are we going to go into the rest picks off?
But we'll do a break. Yeah, don't worry. This is just 5 minutes and then
That's what I need
Just
help.
to have a little oxygen.
right. So this is I promise. This is the very last question for this session. So you saw what I did, right? So I created an array because it starts with square brackets, and that array has 2 objects: object number 1 and object number 2. So then the question is, how do I display? I want to display, I'll show it here, hello world Luis. What do I need to change here to achieve that goal?
Usernames,
Yep.
name,
Usernames.
first name.
Usernames.
I know usernames brackets
Bracket.
0
0. Yep.
Dot.
dot
Dot.
first name.
First name. You're close. You're close.
Name.
Or you add another
Because
bracket.
first name is already one level down. First you have to access name. Because usernames bracket 0 accesses the first object within the array. And if you want to go inside the object and get first name, you have to go through name property first. You understand? Because name is an active object basically and containing 2
Well, when you
values.
have 0 inside because you're calling first name, right?
Yeah, no.
Like
You
name.
cannot call the first name directly because there's no first name in object 1.
Yeah, I agree on that. Where is the first name here? At the root level, here. There is no first name property.
Only name.
The 0 is entering into the array.
So you could.
Yeah,
you could,
so
you could
0
put another
is
dot
highlighting
the actual
First
object,
object.
yeah.
You cannot jump.
And then
into
you
first
bracket
name.
notation the name.
You bracket notation. You don't need the bracket notation because we specifically want to display.
You're not already going within the same bracket that's there with 0,
Yep,
and then maybe comma.
comma.
No.
No comma needed.
Dot name and then dot first name.
Dot. Oh yeah, look. Dot name. Dot. So Sultan and Dave say dot name. Dot
Dot first name.
first name. Well, I said Louis. Should be last name, right?
Last name. Sorry. Yeah, whatever. But that's how you access the inner value, inner properties.
Look, it works. Why it works? Because when we said usernames is pointing to the whole array. But then we say, no, wait, I just want the first property, the first element of the array. So then we say, okay, I give you the first one. And then we said, okay, we're getting close. More specifically, I want to access the name property. Okay? And even more specifically, I want to access the last name property.
But if you use username right bracket 0 and then
Yep,
If you then add
0 again,
0 again,
yeah, right bracket 0 and then 1.
and then 1. Okay, right, so that's what you propose. You know what the problem is? That this is,
it's not matched up.
yes, this is valid for arrays.
That's valid for arrays.
Yes.
With a dot notation, this is valid for the
Exactly,
object.
exactly. So what you have here, this is not an array, this is an object. Why? Because it starts with curly brackets. You see? That's a curly bracket, that's a curly bracket. So you cannot use that notation. You need to access with dot, right? Which is what we did.
Your thinking is because it's in an array, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, but yeah,
The first bracket it's an array.
yes, because the object is an array.
That's where he's getting confused because it's in an array.
Is it?
He's getting confused because it's in an array. The object's in an array.
Yeah.
The first it's an array, and then if you go deeper, it's
An object.
An object, and that's why you
Yep.
name
Yep, exactly, yeah.
When you bring up the Smith, would it be username 1?
So yeah.
Yeah.
So you're going into the second object, which is obviously first as that, and then second.
Bring up Smith.
Cool. And this is the most complicated type of structure you are going to face. An array of objects. It will be the most common one as well. But that's why it's important to nail it, right? It's not that complicated. You see, you want to access an array, square brackets. You want to access a property of the object, dot name of the property. That's it.
So if you have, let's have a break then and get on React.
Yeah, so let's have a break. I guess that you prefer to keep doing that rather than continuing with this for now. Okay, so let's have a break and then we'll catch up with the React bit.
Okay.
Cheers.
Don't forget to stop the recording.